kitchens and baths, your home never looks so beautiful.
It is going to be another hot one today. Mostly sunny. We'll get to 96 for a high this afternoon. The wind will be out of the south at around 5 to 15, and it will be muggy, too. So the heat index up to 100 or better today. Tonight, 72. Tomorrow, sunny, warm, and humid, 95. Could see scattered thunderstorms tomorrow night. And then Wednesday, sunny, cooler. Our high Wednesday, 85, 83 by Thursday. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable on the mighty 1630 KCJJ. Temperature now 73.
Good morning to you. Welcome to our YouTubers, HawkFanatic.com, brought to you by Dr. Lance Forbes, Diamond Dental in Cedar Rapids. Wild Rose Casino in Clinton, Streets Maintenance, the Oxyoke Inn in the Amanas, Premier Automotive in North Liberty, the Sanctuary Pub, there on South Gilbert, Harty and Stocker Jewelers, 101 South Dubuque Street, downtown Iowa City. The Midtown Family Restaurants. Supple's Flowers, home of 1-800-800-ROSE. Supple's Building and Remodeling, GT Carr and his crew. Mike's Lock and E-Keys for cars. Hawkeye Title and Settlement, Steve Anderson. And Patrick Eads and his staff at Deary Brothers Ford on Mormon Trek. Suter's gone. He's in Zurich. Hunter sitting in today along with Pat Harty from HawkFanatic.com. And on the line, it's Coach Don Patterson.
Good morning, Don. How are you? Oh, sorry. Try it again.
Good morning, Don. How are you?
Good morning, Pat. How are you?
I'm sitting in air conditioning, so I'm fine. It's going to be another, 95 today?
95 heated.
Yeah, it's a good way to spend your day, I think, is indoors.
Yeah, and I didn't realize until, because I was in the press box, of course, but when I left the stadium well after the game had ended, it was still really hot. I didn't really appreciate how hot it was out there in that game. How much of a factor do you think that was in what happened Saturday, Don? The heat.
You know, I thought the warm day would overall be in our favor, of course, because the thought process was we had better depth than they did. But I have to give Utah State a lot of credit. I thought they were really tough. They didn't seem to wilt. Even when we were up 14 after less than a quarter of play, they didn't surrender, not at all. You know, they kept battling. And I give them a lot of credit for playing a good, solid 60-minute football game.
Yeah, I mean, they did, and they could have easily wilted under the pressure after falling down 14-0. Now, I will say the first play with McNamara, it was a great way to start. You couldn't have started any better. But in fairness, the cornerback fell down. I mean, it was a broken play. I mean, Anderson made a good kind of a whip move by him, and just that first play, you saw. It was the cornerback fell down for Utah State.
Well, it seemed like an odd way to start the game to me, and by that I mean simply the coverage they decided to play. They're playing what we would call man tight. Man-to-man coverage with the cornerback right up in the face of the receiver. And the only problem with that is he was beating off the line without release. Our Seth got a good release. And the thing Seth did that was so important, if he would have just simply run down the field, he might have been covered. But what he was able to do, he nodded outside as if maybe it was an outside break.
Yeah.
And then he straightened up down the field. And at that point, when he straightened up, that's when the cornerback lost his balance and fell. And at that point, of course, and I've always thought those are some of the hardest ones to catch when you know there's no one nearby. And Seth might agree with that. He struggled to make that play, but he made it, and the replay proved that. It made it more interesting, I guess, that it might or might not be a catch there for a few minutes.
I mean, yes, Seth deserved. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say the fans were convinced it was a catch beyond any shadow of a doubt, but that's what you might expect from a home team.
Yes, Seth deserves credit, too, he had something to do with that cornerback falling down. His release move to the outside was very effective. And, okay, I mean, Don, the two big factors for me, of course, when I left that game, I thought the defense, for the most part, did okay. The thing is, you just don't know what this Utah State team's going to be. I mean, there's so many new faces, 59 newcomers or what have you. But if I'm taking away my two biggest concerns from this game, and this is kind of what I wrote about, the running game, to me, looked no better. I mean, it looked like more of the same. Too many negative plays on first down and what have you. And then, of course, Cade's not 100%. I mean, that was obvious when he had to scramble. You could tell that he is still bugged by this injury. So let's start first with the running game. Your thoughts?
Well, here's the dilemma that so many teams run into in Game 1, or immediately after Game 1. We have no reference from last Saturday, from the previous Saturday,
Sure.
right? Game 1. Long time since the bowl game. Entirely different team, different players, different key players at all kinds of key positions. So the question you leave with is, were we a disappointment, or was the opponent better than we expected? And that's a hard question to answer, but honestly, as I watched the game, I had to give Utah State credit. They were better than what I expected. And I personally think that the Aggies are going to surprise some other opponents this fall. I think they're going to go on and have a solid season. And either I'm right with that assessment, or Iowa may go on to have a disappointing season. It's going to be one or the other probably. But regardless of what happened in Game 1, the key is to get better from week to week to week. That's what we have to do. We have to be a better football team in Ames next Saturday than what we were this past Saturday. And I'm sure the coaches are going to preach that to the players, and the players are going to take it to heart.
So what did you see with the running game? What was the problem? I mean, they carried 36 times for 88 yards.
Well, that was my single biggest disappointment, too. You might have heard me say before the game, based on last year, they'd given up 194 a game a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was realistic with our good solid run defense. A good goal for the game, I thought, was to outrush them by 100 yards. Well, not even close, of course. And you need to recognize, of course, that they got a lot of their rushing yards in the fourth quarter when the game was already salted away.
Yeah, they did.
But just looking at our numbers, and even eliminating the kneel down at the end of the game, that was a -2 that really was not part of the run total. Eliminate the -2 on the kneel down, we still ended up with 35 carries for 90 yards. That boosts our official 2.4 yards per carry up to 2.6. It's still unacceptable, of course. And it's simply not good enough because we played behind the chains too much of the time. And as you mentioned, we had too many minus plays. Even -1, -2, -3 puts you really in a bind for that next down. And we experienced that too many times. So that was a huge disappointment. Why? You've always heard me talk about the running game. The simple key is to create seams because it's hard to open up massive holes. That's
sure.
The other teams always, those defensive players in that front seven, you want to move them, but they're going to resist. And that's the struggle on every play is who wins every snap? Who gets more movement than what the other coach for the other team is okay with, and sometimes the offensive player wins, and other times the defensive player wins, and you always heard me say too, Pat, if you have an All-American center, as we had a couple of years ago, that's all well and good, but that simply means he's going to block his man almost all day long.
Mm-hmm.
The bigger question, of course, is you got 5 different competitions up front with your offensive line. That doesn't even include the fullback and the tight end. Of course, they're involved too. But the question is, can you win all 4 or 5 of those battles in the offensive line? And I said 4 or 5. Sometimes, of course, you have 2 offensive linemen that are doubling on a defensive lineman and working up to a linebacker. And the trick is to win those battles consistently across the front. And obviously, we won some of those battles and we lost others. And in defense of the backs, they didn't have a lot of running room.
They did not.
But part of the responsibility lies in their lap, too, because you've always heard me say, great backs make the first guy miss.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to do better at making that first available tackler miss. We have 2 options. We can lower our shoulder and try to run through the tackle. Maybe he's a little bit preoccupied with the blocker, and maybe it's simply a question of running through an arm tackle at that point. Or if it's a free defender, obviously that's a bigger challenge. But you've got to consistently win those battles, and you got to strain for that. You've heard some different movies, the coach talking about straining for that extra inch. Those inches do matter because inches turn into feet, feet turn into yards. And it's a battle of field position all day. We did win the battle of field position. I think that was important that we did.
Mm-hmm.
But the challenge, I think, is going to be able to win it next weekend because it looks like Iowa State has a better punting game, even maybe than than Utah State did. And hats off to both punters last Saturday. We had an outstanding punter. Everyone expected that.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were a little bit surprised to see Utah State also had a good punter. So we did pick up a few yards every time we traded punts, but not many. That's to the credit of their punter. He was outstanding. I believe he averaged 45.2.
Yeah, I've got it right here.
And our guy averaged 47.0.
Yeah, let's see.
So
I've got the stats right here. Torrey was, oh God, these stats are different now. Let's see. Torrey punted 6 times for a 48.7 average, 3 inside the 20. Then their punter, Stephen Kotzeli, punted 6 times for a 44.3 average. He had 2 touchbacks. Now, this punter did average almost 44 yards per punt last year. So, I mean, he did have some credibility.
In, they had a good punter.
Yeah, now they had a new kicker.
We liked ours better. Incidentally, we were lucky on that punt block because somehow that took a good hop and turned into a 37-yard net.
Yep.
It could have easily been next to nothing for a gain on a punt.
That was his 4th career block punt, too, that Ike Larson. He's really good at doing that.
Yeah, that's the same player that had blocked him in the past.
Yeah.
Maybe he changed his jersey, I don't know, but we didn't do a good job of identifying him. And he certainly made a great effort to get a piece of that punt, too.
Interesting development. Dallas Jones, who works with me at Hawk Fanatic, we were in the press box, and we noticed a pattern. Like when Iowa throws on first down and it's incomplete, they run every time on second down. Dallas was just calling it. I mean, there'd be a first down incompletion. He goes, okay, here's going to be kind of a delay. Did you? I mean, is that? Do you think that's just an isolated thing, Don, or the fact that somebody's calling? He got like 7 in a row, right? He's like, they're going to run right here, right there, because. Do you think that's too predictable?
The second and long run plays didn't produce many yards, too, I guess.
Yeah, they didn't.
Yeah, it's a good point. And self-scouting is part of the game. And the typical self-scout, of course, the office worker or the grad assistant, whoever did the research, he comes back and says, well, our mix on second and long is this many runs, this many passes. But a more succinct way to look at it is after an incompletion on first down, what's that percentage? Maybe it's an even higher percentage of run, as you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that that's true, but I suspect it might be. Because the obvious concern a play caller might have is we got nothing on first down by throwing. The negative thought is maybe we're going to get nothing again, or shit, maybe we're going to get sacked on second down when it's an obvious passing situation compared to first down that was not quite so obvious. So the safe thing to do is go to a run on 2nd and 10. And that's all well and good if it produces, but if it's not producing, then why beat your head against the wall? At some point you should decide to throw some passes, and if you're that concerned about sacks, then you simply do what Utah State did. You get rid of the ball in a hurry with those kind of plays, and maybe that's better than a run play that doesn't gain much at all. Maybe a safe, quick throw gains you an average of 5 yards on 2nd and 10. And that beats the heck out of a run play that averages 2 yards. I'd rather be in 3rd and 5 than 3rd and 7, obviously.
Yeah. And, I mean, I didn't have a major problem with Brian Ferentz's play calling. I did notice it, and maybe that's just the way the circumstances. There were a lot of plays where McNamara was throwing down and outs to the long side of the field, if you know what I mean, where the D-backs had a lot. The ball was in the air for a long time. One of them almost got intercepted. Did you notice that too, or is that just the way the play broke down, or am I nitpicking here? Because it seemed like those are risky passes.
Well, that play in particular you're talking about was a risky pass. It was really a 2-level scheme. We pushed downfield with our outside receiver and then ran the inside receiver on what we used to call a square-out route. And the problem with the play, we didn't have a 3rd-level receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it this way, Pat. If you've got a flat defender and you've got a deep defender, then one really sound way to attack that coverage would simply to be put 3 receivers in the vicinity of those 2 defenders, right? 3 on 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, if it's a zone defense, which it typically was, you look deep first. If the push man's open deep, you're throwing the ball, of course. So he should be covered by that corner. He's in a deep defensive mode, probably defending an outside 3rd or an outside 4th of the field. And if he's covered, then you come on down to the flat defender, and then you've got a high-low versus the flat defender. You've got the intermediate route, the one we were trying to throw on Saturday, and then you've got the short route into the flat. And if the flat defender drops deep, as the guy did on Saturday, then you come on down to the third level. You force him to come up and tackle an open receiver. We didn't have a third level on that play. Cade was in a pickle because it was a long throw, and he had to elevate the ball over that flat defender. And in the end, of course, that flat defender, I believe, was the same guy that blocked the punt. He's not your average athlete. He goes up, he gets a piece of the ball. We're fortunate he didn't intercept. And the problem that Cade ran into, if he would have lost the ball even more, there would have been even more time of flight on the throw. That would have given both those defenders even more time to react to the throw. And it all started, Pat, because of what you said. I believe that play probably originated all the way on the right hash, and we're throwing the ball all the way to the boundary on the left.
Yeah.
It's a long throw.
It's a long throw.
And it gives the defense a little extra time to react. And that play did scare me because it might have been intercepted. It was an outstanding play on the part of the corner. I'm sorry, not the corner, but the flat defender. Maybe it was a defensive back. I believe it actually was.
I believe it was.
But the point is, we were only running 2 receivers versus 2 defenders, and that short defender was able to protect against that intermediate route. And they gave them a chance to kind of sandwich the route. You might recall that deep defender wasn't very far away either.
No, it was congested over there where he threw it.
That's the one play I thought that was questionable judgment on Cade's part to even make that throw. There were any number of other times when you saw Cade looking downfield and wisely deciding not to throw the ball downfield.
Yes.
To lay the ball off to a shorter receiver that still picked up positive yards.
Now, I will say, in fairness to Cade, I'm assuming, I haven't went back and checked all of Michigan's games in 2021, other than I don't know, I can't remember exactly what happened in the playoff game, but I'm guessing this was the first time Cade did not have a dominating running game to help produce play action. I mean, at Michigan in 2021, they ran the ball, with Haskins and Corum. And the other thing, Don, he's not 100%. That was obvious. I mean, we didn't really know where he was until that first play he had to scramble. And, Don, it was obvious that he's still ailing a little bit. You saw that.
Yeah. And, of course, he's been instructed in those situations to protect himself as well as he can. And I used to explain it this way to the quarterbacks. If it's first or second down and you pull the ball down, then you need to protect yourself. If you can get out of bounds, then do so. Get all the yards you can, and then get out before you take a hard hit. If you're out between the hash marks, as an example, you need to get north-south as best you can. And you know what I mean by north-south. You need to run as vertically as you can down the field to pick up positive yards. And then before contact, you need to get on the ground. And the only exception to that would be if you get into that area of critical downs. And you know what I mean by critical down. If it's third down and you're not likely to go for it at all on fourth down, that is a critical down. You need to pick up first down yardage. So I used to tell the quarterbacks then, congratulations, you just became a running back. You got to try to go get the first down. Now, the only exception to that rule would be if you're playing with a quarterback that's a little less than 100%, maybe you even sacrifice that charge of picking up the first down, and you tell him, I don't care if it's a critical down or not. We want you to protect yourself. We can always punt, and we can always live to fight another possession a little bit later in the game.
So if you're Iowa State defense, and you watch this film of Iowa and you see McNamara, Allen, I mean, obviously, is there going to be plan to try to get as much pressure on him as possible, force him out of his comfort zone? Of course, you want to stop the run and whatever, but do you think when they see that and they're like, wow, he's not 100%, how do you think they're going to react to that, Iowa State's defense, which, by the way, was pretty impressive Saturday?
Yeah, one thought, the dilemma we faced in going against Utah State's quarterback, we knew, based on last season, he was a better runner than the average quarterback. And he didn't kill us with a lot of yardage.
No.
But there are a number of key times where he faked to the bag, mostly critical down stuff, short yardage, third and short typically, maybe third and medium, where he faked to the bag and then kept the ball and ran for positive yardage, ran for enough yardage to move the chains. You saw that any number of times.
Yeah.
The reason I bring it up that way, if you're Iowa State playing Iowa, you're not too concerned about Iowa asking Cade to be a runner. We might do it, but obviously we're trying to protect Cade as best we can. He's a valuable commodity because he's a veteran quarterback that played like a veteran on Saturday. And in that regard, you're not too concerned about playing with a light box. And you know what I mean by a light box.
Yeah.
You don't have so many tacklers that are lined up close to the ball. And maybe you're not concerned if you don't, maybe you don't feel like you have to outnumber the blockers in the offensive line. And maybe you're content playing with a six-man box, even though there's five linemen to block, maybe a tight end to block, or maybe a back to block for a quarterback if he's a runner. You're not too worried about them outnumbering you. You're okay with being light in the box to defend against pass. And I'm saying it's third and long, third and medium, maybe. You're okay to dare them to run the ball with the quarterback. If they run the ball with the running back, that's okay because they only got five blockers, or six if there's a tight end standing next to a tackle. So you're okay not being outnumbered with blockers because you're not worried about the quarterback becoming a runner. Hope that makes sense to you.
Yeah, it does. No, it does. I just
gives you a better chance to defend against passes, to dare them to run the quarterback.
Oh, without question. I don't think they want McNamara running the ball, but obviously you like him healthy because when he's healthy, he is mobile to a certain point. He didn't look very mobile when the pressure was on him, so it's going to be interesting to see how he, how much better he is this Saturday if he gets better. But now I want to focus on a couple positive things. I mean, I mean the running game was obviously a concern, but there was a lot of good too. I want to bring up two players, Luke Lachey and Jay Higgins. First of all, Luke Lachey is, I mean, he has a knack for making the big catches. He can catch in traffic. Those were good throws by McNamara too, but those were tough catches. It looks like obviously Iowa has another soon-to-be great tight end. Would you agree?
Yes, I thought Luke certainly had an outstanding game. And there were 7 catches, as I recall.
Yes, 7 catches for 73 yards. Yep.
But let's not forget, a couple of those were really key catches.
Third down catches, big. Yep.
Yeah, we converted 3 times, to my recollection, on third and extra long.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking third and 11, third and 12, and even third and 15. And let's talk about 2 of those 3 extra long yardage plays went to Lachey. One of them was the 31-yard, I believe it was 31 yards, as I recall, something along that line. That was a third and 11 or 12, and the ball was thrown up to Luke. Now, even when Kay threw the ball, he knew that Luke was covered, but he liked the matchup. Luke as a tall tight end versus a much shorter defensive back.
Good point.
And what gave Luke a chance to make the play, Kay threw it up, but he threw it up with good accuracy,
He did.
which gave Luke a chance to high point the ball. The defender was right there with him.
Yeah, he was.
But it was just the 2 of them, and it was high pointed by Luke, and the ball was placed so that he had an advantage to go up and get the ball from the shorter defensive back. That was a key play because it moved the chains when we were not likely to be able to move them when we're looking at extra long yardage. And then another time, late in the game, you might recall this play. It was a pressure snap versus man coverage, and Cade knew when he let go of the ball, I think we gained 15 on this one, as I recall.
Yeah.
But he knew when he let go of the ball, I'm going to get pasted right after this ball's thrown because I got a guy that's going to be in my face. There were actually 2 defenders that were closing hard on him, but he still stood in and threw the ball to a nice open tight end named Lachey. Ball was actually thrown. Ball was cleanly caught. Another first down. This was late in the game, but the game still wasn't really salted away. I believe that was before our last touchdown.
You're right. It was, yeah.
Another key play. And let's not forget about the first one, the conversion on 3rd and 15. It's what we call a slip screen to our number 3 running back,
Great
who was
call.
in on 3rd and 15.
Uh-huh.
And he's in for a reason. I think the coaches obviously have a lot of confidence in Jay-Z and Patterson for his ability to catch a ball out of the backfield. And a slip screen, what I mean by that, Utah State didn't think we could get the back out because they were bringing a defender that they thought he was going to have to block. Well, that would have been true, except Cade understood and the back understood, I'm not going to block this guy. I'm going to fake it. I'm going to block him. And I'm going to immediately turn around and look for the ball. You're going to make the throw to me, and we're going to cross them up by taking advantage of them. They didn't think the back could get out. Well, if it's choreographed for the quarterback to be able to throw before that free defender hits him, then it is potentially an outstanding play. Really good execution, a really good call by Brian.
I agree.
And that's a play that doesn't have a lot of risk involved. It's probably either going to be complete or incomplete, but we're not likely to get sacked because Cade knows who that free defender is. It's the guy that they thought was going to be blocked by the back. Well executed. It's a good thing to kind of mess with the defensive coordinator's mind. You got to be careful because now you know they have a few little trickums to take advantage of the rush that they know is coming. It was a good guess on Brian's part. I don't think we checked to it. I think it was based on their tendency again. Brian clearly anticipated pressure. We got the pressure, and we made him pay.
And I like the fact that they were using their third-team running back. I mean, the first quarter had ended, and all three running backs had contributed. And, Don, you know, that keeps them all engaged. It keeps them happy. I'm not saying that they're just trying to make everyone happy, but all three can contribute, and they're finding ways to get them all involved. I give Brian Ferentz credit for that, don't you?
Yeah, let's give some credit to that running back coach, too, because
sure.
I'm pretty sure that Liddell's making those calls. I don't know that for a fact. Maybe Brian says Patterson's in. We don't know. But it wouldn't surprise me at all if Brian simply makes the play call and Liddell knows which back is best suited to be in the game.
Yeah, and I mean,
that's one less thing for Brian to worry about. And a good running back coach, Carl Jackson, did that for us. I don't doubt for a second that Liddell's doing it for his coaching staff.
Yeah, who's ever doing it.
I'm sure that Brian and Kirk have a lot of confidence in Liddell's judgment on who should be in the game.
And maybe, like you've said, maybe Patterson has shown the ability to be more effective on screenplays. I mean, maybe he's shown that he's got better hands. But I just like the fact that it was Patterson who caught the ball, because at first I thought it was LaShawn. I just assumed it was LaShawn. Then I'm like, no, that's number 9. That's Jay's in, and it was early. And I just thought that was just really good play call and really good use of personnel, whether it was Brian or Liddell. Good job. And then as far as Jay Higgins, I mean, he had 16 tackles, 12 solo tackles. He was all over the field. I mean, that team tested you in a lot of ways. And, I mean, I'm not saying he's the second coming of Jack Campbell or anything, but for a first real career start as the main guy, I thought Jay Higgins really rose to the occasion.
Well, I made this comment. I don't know that Jack Campbell saw the game as it unfolded, but I promise you this, if Jack Campbell has a chance to look at the game, even if he looks at it during the week, this week, he's going to have a smile on his face with how Jay Higgins played, because Jay Higgins played a lot like Jack Campbell does.
He did.
All-out effort. Talk about mental toughness. You probably noticed that Jay Higgins is in the game right at the end of the game. He was still out there playing.
Yeah.
And that would indicate maybe we're a little bit thin at linebacker.
Which they are.
It also ties into the fact that Jay Higgins was playing like his hair was on fire. He was making plays, and even as I recall, he made a play on punt late in the game, covering a punt no less. So outstanding effort on Jay's part. I was very impressed with Jay Higgins, because you're right. He was making plays from one sideline to the other.
Yeah.
Let's face it, it was a perimeter game in a lot of ways. They tried to get the ball outside into space a lot and see how well we could tackle. And one very reliable tackler on all those wide plays was number 34.
He sure was. Yeah, no, it was impressive. I wanted to ask you, I've been hearing more discussion about this. Do you ever see a point, or would you agree with it? Do you think college football should consider playing preseason games? I don't know how you would schedule them, who you would have someone like Iowa play, but I've been asked that recently. Why doesn't college play preseason? What are your thoughts on that? Could that ever happen?
I'm not sure it'll ever happen. And the reasons are kind of obvious. They don't want to you're talking about preseason games along the lines of the NFL.
Yeah, like what the NFL does, one or two of them, just as a warm-up.
Where they're actually charging people to watch and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the difference, of course, we have student athletes. They have to go to class. NFL season lasts longer, but those are not young adults. Those are adults that do not have to divide their time between academics and football. So I'm okay with the current status of where we are. I think part of the fun of Game 1 is that it does count. It's not an exhibition, and there's always a big mystery, of course, as to what the other team's going to do. how those players that we've never seen play, how they're going to perform. Obviously, some of those guys for Utah State, I don't know which ones they were because I'm not that familiar with the roster. But I'm sure a Utah State fan has a good idea of who really impressed against Iowa that had never before played for Utah State. And as you know, Pat, they had 10 four-year transfers. They had 20 other junior college players. I would be willing to bet that half of those 30 players probably played a pretty significant role in the game.
Well,
I don't know who they were, but obviously they had some guys that stepped up and played pretty well. And that's encouraging if you're a Utah State fan. Maybe I'm wrong in saying they're going to go on and have another bowl season, but I suspect they will. We don't know that. It's a little too early to know. Is it more to their credit that it was a closer than expected ball game, or is it more to our blame? We don't know. We'll find out in the weeks ahead, because if it was more to their credit than it was to our blame, then maybe we're still going to go on and impress our fans a lot with how we play next week in Ames. We hope for that. Regardless of how good Utah State turns out, our simple goal is a group of players, especially if you're talking about O-line. We know collectively we didn't play as well as we wanted to. Our challenge is we have to find a way to play better this Saturday than last Saturday. We have to get that done. I'm sure the players are going to take that responsibility very seriously. And the challenge, of course, is Iowa State's going to do everything they can to bend our running game, much like Utah State did.
Well, I've stopped reading too much into season openers after Iowa needed 2 blocked field goals to beat UNI. Everyone was gloom and doom after that. Suter even said when he left the stadium that day he felt miserable. That team went on to win 11 games. So, I mean, you can't read too much into it, good or bad.
You're right. You've always heard me say this, Pat. Let's react, but let's not overreact.
Yeah, exactly.
Should we be concerned we didn't run the ball better? Of course. We're working to shore that up from one week to the next. There are ways to do it other than just figuring out how the blockers can execute better with their physical assignment. It also gets into play calling. It also relates, of course, to people other than the O-line. It relates a lot to those perimeter players. It relates a lot to tight ends and fullbacks. So it relates maybe to changing plays in the case of not running into a stacked defense. And a wise quarterback like Cade can be given that assignment if the coaches decide to put that into the game plan. So all those things contribute to it. Obviously, the backs need to find a way to run with even more efficiency than what they did with last week. I'm sure that, as I recall, Caleb had 19 carries in that game. You know, some of those minimum gains are on him.
Yeah, he had 19 for 63.
I'm sure there are places where he can do better, too.
Yeah, 19 for 63. Caden Wetchen actually led them in carries, in yards per carry, 7.3. This is an interesting question. I don't want this to be perceived as I'm criticizing Caden Wetchen. I'm just curious here how things work. They bring this kid in from Ohio State, Caleb Brand, former 4-star running back, converted receiver in high school. They lose him in the kind of the same position as Caden Wetchen. And we read, and part of this is the media hyping this up. It's not Kirk and Brian. I get that. Were you surprised that Caleb Brown never got any of those touches on those reverses the way Caden Wetchen got 3 of them? Obviously, that's something they saw in practice. Did that surprise you? The kid from Ohio State, Caleb Brown didn't have any. He had 2 targets and no touches. Did that surprise you at all? Or is that the media just hyping somebody up because they come from Ohio State and they're a 4-star?
Well, one thought that you might see going forward, obviously, Witchen's got maybe the best speed on the team, certainly one of the fastest players on the team. Utah State underestimated his speed, that's for sure. So now the word's out. If Witchen is going in motion with a lot of speed, you better be alert for a fly sweep. We heard him twice with the fly sweep. We ran it a third time. The third time they hit it in the head.
Yeah, they got it.
You might recall. For -5, as I recall. So the word's out now. Okay, if 21 is going in motion with a lot of speed, maybe they even alert the edge rusher. His job changes. Maybe his job is simply to run up the field and not to be able to close with any kind of inside charge, because to charge with an inside motion, of course, might mean he's not able to contain that fly sweep. Mm-hmm. So those kind of things do happen from week to week. Maybe that's an alert that the linebacker gives the edge rusher. Maybe it's an edge rusher that's standing up and can see the guy coming. So he just runs up the field on his own to contain the threat of a fly sweep by reaching again. Here's the good news. They haven't seen anybody but 21 do that.
Good point.
Maybe next week it is number 3 doing it.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And
yeah, but I get your point, Pat. You're saying, wouldn't it have been obvious that we would have maybe called a play where it's almost guaranteed that number 3 is going to get the ball?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, a high percentage pass that gets into his hands and gives him a chance to run out with the ball. You bring up a good point. I don't recall. I know one of the targets to our Ohio State transfer was a deep pass, and he was covered, and the ball was overthrown. Can't recall who threw it. It might have been
Deacon Hill.
It might have been Deacon. I can't recall. Seemed like it was kind of late in the game when the ball went up to number 3. I could be wrong on that. I'm not sure. But the point is, give number 3 a chance to catch a ball and demonstrate that he's actually good after the catch also. And the prime example would be we had plays designed for number 85 and number 83 that were like that.
Sure.
The Y screen is a good play that gives our guy a chance to catch the ball, gives our lineman a chance to be downfield blocking in front of him because he's catching it just behind the line. And there are other balls that are thrown to 83 and 85 that are downfield, but they're quick, short throws that still give him a chance to do something after the catch. So there are plays like that we can design, not just for our Ohio State transfer, but also for guys like number 89 also. He's proven he's pretty darn good after the catch.
Yeah, he is.
There are any number of short throws we've made in the past, of course, to Mergani, and Nico's been able to do good things with him. I remember in particular late in the season last year, we threw some of those high percentage throws to Nico just to see what he did after the catch. He might catch it 4 yards downfield and turn it into a gain of 12. Because when he caught it, he knew what to do with it. He got turned downfield. He ran with a purpose. Maybe he did or did not break a tackle, but if nothing else, he at least hustled downfield. He took a good path to avoid being tackled and turned it into a decent gain after the catch. You remember Nico doing that late in the season last year when Nico was 100% healthy. And Nico still has that potential now, of course. But that might be part of the game plan this week more so than it was last week.
That's a good point. They may be holding stuff back. Maybe they're going to unleash Caleb Brown. And like I said, I could be guilty of buying into the hype, buying into the Ohio State 4-star. I'm not at practice every day. Obviously, Caden Wetchen had showed these coaches something. But right away, when he did the third one, some people up in the press box were like, why don't they try like Caleb Brown? But like I said, we're not at practice, so I don't want to start just questioning all the play calling. I will say in regard to Nico, his 29-yard catch was one of the best catches in that game. That was a great throw by McNamara. Threw it where it couldn't be intercepted. You remember the one where he had to jump up over the shoulder? That was a great veteran catch by Nico Mergani for 29 yards.
And both he and Luke's catches, the ball was thrown in position to catch it. It still wouldn't have happened if both receivers hadn't done a really good job of high pointing the ball.
Yes, exactly.
They really couldn't catch it any higher in the air than what they did.
That's a good point. No, that's just a lot of that is some of it's coaching, but a lot of it's just natural ability. So, okay, let's look at this game Saturday. I had Iowa State beating UNI, but I thought it was going to be competitive. But from what I've read, the Iowa State defense and special teams, which have been a problem, were both really good. Have you had a chance to look at any of that game? And are you surprised that Iowa State won as convincingly as they did?
This is kind of funny, but I admit that I messed up. I did set my TV for what I thought was Iowa State versus UNI. And I did tape Iowa State versus UNI, but it was Iowa State UNI from 2021, as they often do on their network. I guess that's where I must have found that game.
Yep.
I was just screening for the game. I saw it. I clicked to copy it, but it was on the Cyclone network, and it was a replay of 2 years ago in advance of the game this year. So I don't even know for sure that the game was on my cable package. I think it was, but I inadvertently taped the wrong game. Having said that, I did see some highlights as best I could, and I read everything I could read about the game. And I will be honest with you, I honestly thought at the very least it was going to be a tough, hard-fought win.
So did I.
So, yeah, so I know that you and I was disappointed. You could tell by the way that Mark talked. He was disappointed with the play of his team. But let's give credit to Iowa State also. They obviously, I'll say it this way, they were very opportunistic with how they played.
Yes, they
were. Let me give you some specific examples. Opening drive of the game, UNI's moving the ball down the field, interception, return for a touchdown. And that was a huge play, a 58-yard return by a sophomore safety by the name of Jeremiah Cooper. So now they're up 7-0, and realize the offense hasn't even gotten on the field yet, and they're up 7-0. That's a nice luxury to have. That kind of reminds you of our bowl game against Kentucky, doesn't it?
Yeah, good point, yeah.
The scoreboard changes, and we weren't even on the field offensively to do it. So that's how the game started. And then late in the half, another interception by Jeremiah Cooper. Incidentally, the only two turnovers of the day. This one was returned into field goal range. This is shortly before the half. They trot out their place kicker, who was the backup for Nebraska last year. His first kick, as I understand it, the first kick in a college game was a 56-yarder. They claimed it was into the wind. That's kind of hard to believe. Maybe into a slight wind. Who knows where the wind was for sure in Ames. But 56 yards through the upright. That's the last 3 points of the half. Now it's 23-0 at the half. And then, credit again to Iowa State, they start the second half by receiving the ball. They go down the field and score on offense. Now it's 30-0 after one possession of the second half. Game over. Who are we kidding? The game's over.
Yeah.
You know, you and I don't care what they do from that point forward. They're going to be hard-pressed to score. Theoretically, they could score 4 touchdowns and win the game, right? 4 times 8 is 32. But let's face it, if you're having a hard time moving the ball, you're like trying to convert on almost 2-point plays, even if you can score touchdowns. So, it's almost unheard of that a team would lose a 30-point lead, and I don't think it was going to happen to Iowa State last Saturday. UNI kept battling. They finally scored the touchdown in the fourth quarter. I think it was with about 10 minutes left, so I don't doubt for a second that they scored that touchdown against the best defenders on the part of Iowa State. There might have been a few backups in there in the fourth quarter, but much like our game was played, you didn't see our backups until even later in the game. And incidentally, let's not beat ourselves up too much over the fact that Utah State outgained us, Utah State outrushed us. Those things happened in large part because we were playing our backups at the end of the game.
Yeah, no, I think some of those...
That doesn't take the offense off the hook for the fact that we didn't really move the ball like we wanted on offense. But defensively, our starters did a good job of containing their defense. The backups let us down there in the late stages of the game.
Yeah, my concerns were the second and third quarter. McNamara was 7 of 15 for 59 yards, and they couldn't run the ball. And they just could not run the ball.
And that's the right place to be concerned.
Yeah.
But getting back to Iowa State last weekend, how about this? They only had 45 snaps on offense.
Yeah.
Incidentally, we're aware that the game's going to be a little bit shorter now than it's ever been. I couldn't help but notice as I went back and looked at Nebraska versus Minnesota. Both those teams on Thursday night had only had 9 possessions in the game. I think you're going to see some more of that. Now, we had more possessions, I believe, Saturday, in large part because we had a lot of injury timeouts. And Utah State was the one with those injury timeouts, more so than us.
Yeah, they did have a few. Yeah.
But that made the game go a little bit longer. Obviously, incomplete passes make the game go longer. A lot of the perimeter plays on the part of Utah State, the ball went out of bounds, which again stops the clock. So those kind of things do happen sometimes, but only for, as you know, now a made first down. The clock's going to continue to run unless it's the last 2 minutes of either half.
Yeah, I mean,
so the game is shorter, and I don't really like that. And I'll tell you one reason I say that. Let's just imagine you got a running back that's about to break the school record for rushing yardage. And let's imagine it's a tight game, so he needs to be out there playing throughout the game. At the end of the game, he rushes for 252 yards. And the only problem is that the school record's 254 yards. He would have broken the record if not for the fact that the game's shorter than it was a year ago. I hate to see that you know what I'm saying? It delegitimizes certain records. Same way it can work in a reverse direction on defense. If we set a new school record defensively, one reason we did because it's a slightly shorter game.
Well, I guess they made
so it's not the same length of game as we had a year ago.
I mean, the rule, of course, is after first downs, they used to stop the clock. Now they're not doing it just like in the pros. What's ironic, though, about it, I guess they're doing that because the games are starting to drag on. That first quarter still took 52 minutes because of the injuries, because of all the incompletions, but also because of all the TV timeouts. I mean, they can try to shorten the game all they want, but the TV timeouts aren't going anywhere.
You're right. That game lasted roughly 3.5 hours.
Yeah, even with the new rule.
I think it was 3:33 maybe. I think it kicked off at 1:03, and at least the TV version finished at 4:36. I'm sorry, 11 o'clock kick, so 2:36.
Yeah.
So theoretically, it was on TV for 3 hours and 36 minutes, and I would imagine the kick came after about the first 3 minutes of broadcast time. So long game. It took a long time to play it, primarily because of injury timeouts.
Yeah, there were a lot of injuries. I felt so bad for their defensive lineman who got hurt on the first play of the season. First play of the season, then he's on crutches. I felt so bad for that kid. You train and work all hard.
Yeah, you're right.
And then the very first play. So, Don, I got to ask, were you inside? You were at the stadium. Were you outside or were you inside?
I was outside, and I was sweating with the best of them.
I was going to say, how hot was it?
It was warm. It was warm. We sit on the west side, so the sun was a little bit in our face with that 11 o'clock kick. We're still lucky we had 11 o'clock kick, of course, because the warmest part of the game was the very end of the game.
Yeah.
Simply because, of course, it got warmer as the mid-afternoon approached. So it was a difficult game for the players, I promise you. I did notice this. I checked my Fitbit late in the game, on my phone. I guess I checked my phone, and it was 88 degrees late in the game. That's the 88 official degrees. Down the turf, I'm sure it was well over 100 for the players. It was well over 100 for most of the game for the players. So it wears on you a little bit. My wife was bragging on me. I even did a better job of hydrating than normal. So I was drinking quite a bit of water over the course of the game. And, of course, those players fully understand you've got to continuously hydrate.
Yeah.
And even then, of course, everybody was concerned about Xavier. I was confident it was just cramps. And you're able, the reason you're able to rehydrate even during the game and maybe get back in the game, maybe not. It depends on the game situation, of course. And in some cases, you can hydrate well enough where you can go back out and play again. I don't think Xavier ever returned. I don't believe he did.
I don't believe he did either. But he didn't. I mean, at first I thought it was a hyperextended knee, but then we later found out that it was cramps. And I don't believe he returned, but I don't remember for sure. But no, they dodged a bullet there. And injury-wise, it looks like. I mean, now Jamari Harris missed the game, but for people can different reasons. But at some point he should be back. But no, I mean, a win's a win. Like Kirk said afterwards, he said they got to clean up the running game. But with what time we have left, I want to kind of ask you about some other stuff. Did you watch it all? Northwestern's got. I mean, I felt young watching Northwestern, Don, because it felt like the 70s and 80s again. When they were.
I did watch a lot of that game, but I'll have to admit I gave up in the fourth quarter.
Oh, it was brutal.
Because I'm thinking this is boring.
Yeah.
And I feel sorry for Northwestern. I don't even know what the final was. Was it
24-7? I think they did score at the very end.
Okay, they got 7 late. So I'll say this: I was pretty favorably impressed with Rutgers. I think you've always heard me say I do believe Greg Shannon's a good coach. He's going to have those guys playing as best they can play. They certainly got off to the right start this year for them.
I watched a little bit of the Ohio State game. Like I said, I know that quarterback was a 5-star, but I was not over. Maybe Indiana's defense is going to be good. I mean, Indiana really couldn't do anything on offense, but I was not overly impressed with Ohio State's just one game, I get it, but was not overly impressed with what the quarterback did.
Well, imagine how Marvin Harrison feels right now. He had 2 catches for 18 yards. And you can bet he might be the greatest team player in the world, but he's still discouraged and frustrated. Now, I don't know how many targets he had, but he certainly didn't have a very productive day.
No.
I give Indiana some credit for that. I'm sure they were IDing him all day long, doing their best to try to neutralize how he plays. And if I'm an Ohio State fan, I wouldn't panic. You know, they want to be sure not to get themselves beat. They got a quarterback that hadn't really played much at all. So they're trying to serve him a little bit, you know, so that they don't hang him out to dry too often. So, you know, it was still a routine win for Ohio State. The fans aren't happy, but they got the win. They got the quarterback some experience. They'll give him more to do as the season plays out, I'm sure. And I don't think we've really seen the last of Marvin Harrison Jr. That's for sure.
Yeah,
he's going to be lighting it up from week to week. I'm betting on that.
I was impressed with Penn State with what I saw. That Drew Aller's got an NFL arm. God, and they put this little backup in who can run the ball. They've got two different quarterbacks. Did you have any chance to see Penn State at all?
Yeah, I did watch a little bit of that game as well. I do not have it on tape, I don't believe. We'll have another chance to look at Penn State before we play them. And talking about our game again, Pat, I want to give credit to a couple of players in the back end.
Deshaun Lee?
I always like to remember these plays when they happen. I give credit to number 30, Quinn Schulte, did a good job of tackling all day long.
He did.
I don't believe I had him with a single miss. I was charting misses as the game played out. And one player missed more than any others, but I can't even say for sure that he played badly. And that was, let me find it here.
Are you talking about Deshaun Lee, number 8?
Yeah, he had some missed tackles, but he also had a lot of opportunities.
He did. He had 6 tackles
overall. It's a big surprise. If number 3's on the other side, they might throw more at number 8 than number 3. So he made some plays. He missed a few here and there. But I don't think people realize if you're playing on a really warm, humid day, you're really sweaty, and the ball carrier is really sweaty too. And it's a little bit tougher to get people on the ground on those kind of days.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit, you have a little better chance to slip a tackle, I think, just because you're drenched in sweat, and so is the tackler. So I think Deshaun did okay.
I do too.
He showed good aggressiveness at times. He hit some pretty hard hits. I want to brag on Schulte because he did have a touchdown-saving tackle late in the game. I believe they went ahead and scored on that drive, but maybe that was the previous drive. I can't remember. But there was a time when a back broke down the field. Incidentally, what's his name? Faison, I believe it was. Gosh, he's explosive.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's the guy you were talking about. And then another key play much earlier in the game, touchdown-saving tackle by Xavier. And not to mention a really nice interception on Xavier's part. So I do recall Xavier missed a tackle in the open field. You know, he's got to learn. You got to come under control at times. Yeah, we know you can accelerate into a tackler, but I always used to say, I've never been a defensive coach other than really early in my coaching career, but I used to mention as a head coach reminding defensive players, or think of it this way as an offensive player, and it applies to blocking defensive players too. If the defender's out of control, I used to tell our blockers as a wide receiver, if he's out of control, then you're okay to be out of control. All I'm saying is if he's running hard at the ball carrier, you're okay to throw at him because his momentum is going to give you a better chance to cut him. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
And now I don't even know. You can't block below the waist, and maybe you can't even, maybe that's illegal to throw so much. If you throw high enough, you can still throw, I guess. But maybe I don't even know what the rules are or how to interpret it right now for a blocker. You did see that they were flagged for blocking below the waist with their defensive player.
Yeah, on Eric All. Yeah.
Cut Eric All that time?
Yep.
That's a technique that tacklers have used forever. If let's imagine it's a big tight end coming at me and I weigh 60 pounds less, I'm going to be lower than him. I'm at least going to take him out, which is going to make a pile. He's going to force the ball carrier to have to change path a little bit. And, of course, we have other tacklers. So I'm giving myself up just to turn the play back inside. That's what that tackler did, that play.
Yeah.
He got played for it, too. So, to me, that's kind of a goofy rule. It's all in the line, all in the subject area of safening the game, of course, making the game more safe. But to me, there's nothing wrong. If you see the guy coming, is there anything wrong with him being able to touch in the open field? That's football. I understand protecting defensive linemen by not clipping them in the clipping zone. I understand that. But it shouldn't be against the rule to be able to throw a good wall block. Tim DeLite used to chop guys down like trees, you know, because he would come in there and he'd throw at him with a good roll block, and you can't get out of his way, you know, because he's coming at you with momentum.
Now, before we wrap up, I wanted to say I did think the Iowa offensive line did a good job of pass blocking. I thought Cade had a lot of time to survey the field for the most part. And I also wanted to get your thoughts on Colorado and Deion Sanders, because, my God, they are the talk of college football right now. I know Deion rubs a lot of people the wrong way. He's got a big mouth, but I'll tell you what, on and off the field, he backs it up. I mean, that Travis Hunter, his son, did you have a chance to watch any of that game, Don?
I did not, but I saw some highlights of it. A couple of things come to mind. Everybody says, wow, they did that to TCU. I promise you this, and we've discussed it already. Sometimes in the early season, you'll see a team that is overrated. TCU might be one of those teams. It's too early to tell. But obviously, I thought playing in Fort Worth, TCU would find a way to beat them. I was not surprised to see huge effort on the part of Colorado in the first game under Coach Prime. I don't doubt that the players like him maybe better than the opposing fans. That wouldn't be hard to believe because, you know, he's got a lot of bravado. I don't like the idea. To me, he's too much of a self-promoter. That bothers me a little bit because you've always heard me see Pat say that the game is for the kids. It's not for the coaches. I think Kirk understands that. You know, the game is not about – Kirk is not looking for the limelight. He ends up with a lot of attention because he's the head coach at Iowa. But Kirk would be the first to tell you the game's about the players. It's not about the coaches. And except in Coach Prime's case, the game's a lot about Coach Prime. And it has good effect right now. Maybe it'll always have good effect. You could argue that PJ's a little bit that way in the Big Ten. But there are people that argue that James Franklin's that way in the Big Ten. Kirk chooses to not be that way. I wasn't that way. You could argue Hayden. Some people would argue that Hayden was a self-promoter. No, Hayden was bigger than life, and just like Kirk is going to end up in the College Football Hall of Fame, Hayden ended up there. So if you're playing for a Hall of Fame coach, that coach is going to get a lot of attention. Bill Snyder's a good example of that. Bill never looked for the limelight, but it just simply shows up. If you're a Hall of Fame coach, that's what happens.
So yeah, no, his son was very impressive. I didn't realize his son was that good of a quarterback. He threw for 510 yards. And then this Travis Hunter might be the best all-around player in college football. Now, he was a big, mega recruit. He may have been the number one recruit in the class 2 years ago. Remember, I believe he was committed to Florida State. Then he backed out and went to Jackson State. And that interception he had near the end zone was great coaching and great execution. You're right, though. Deion's going to rub some people the wrong way. He was the same way as a player. He was about Deion. I never forget when he was preparing for the NFL draft, he said, whoever picks me, they're going to have to put me on layaway because I'm going to ask for so much money. I laughed at that, but that kind of stuff rubs some people, the old traditionalists, the wrong way. But, I mean, for one game, it really worked. And what do you think? Nebraska, Colorado. I mean, I'm picking Colorado after what I saw from Nebraska. I mean, what do you think in that? They play this week. Who would you pick in that game?
You know, Nebraska, Minnesota, so interesting. Good example, too. The quarterback is clearly an athlete. I'm talking about Nebraska.
Yeah, Jeff Sims can't throw.
You know, he's an outstanding runner, but my gosh, you know, don't start down your receivers. A good defender's going to make you pay. Happened a couple of times. You know, right now, you've always heard me say some quarterbacks are what coaches refer to as coach killers. A guy that's a coach killer is a guy that you feel like you have to play him because he's got so much raw talent. But is he good enough? Is he just good enough to get you beat? And honestly, Nebraska's quarterback in Game 1 this year, he cost Nebraska.
He did
in many ways. You know, he was a positive in how he ran the ball. I think he was the leading rusher. But they also were -3 on turnovers.
Yeah, bad turnovers.
You know, turnovers. If you're -3 in the Big Ten last year, you won the game every time.
Yeah,
every time. 100% win if you're +3 on turnovers. So good luck overcoming that. So that's where the game played out. And getting back to Cade again, it was just so refreshing to me. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Cade playing against Iowa in Indianapolis. There were times when Cade made good decisions against Iowa. He's going against a really good defense in that championship game. But Cade didn't give us any chances to pick the ball off. You know, he threw the ball to the right guys. If he needed to check it down, he did. If he needed to run the ball and gain what positive yards he could, he did. He still protected the ball. Whether he threw it or ran it, he still protected it. So he made all the routine plays against Iowa in that game, and he made all the routine plays pretty much last Saturday.
Yeah.
That's what good quarterbacks do. Veteran quarterbacks make all the routine plays, and the only question is, are they capable of making the great plays? You might argue the guy from Nebraska has a great chance to make great plays. His problem is he doesn't make all the routine plays.
No, he doesn't. And he makes bad decisions. He made that interception right before halftime that was a killer. I mean, it was and one last thing before we go. Minnesota does not look like they have their typical power running game. I know it was just one game, but that was the first time I've watched Minnesota where they weren't staying ahead of the chains by running the ball. They were dinking and dunking with their quarterback. I mean, if you're a Minnesota fan, are you concerned about the running game right now?
I would be absolutely concerned because that's been so much a part of their success.
Yes, their identity.
Is their ability to not just run the ball, but defend the run pretty well, too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what their losses are on defense, but they're clearly they've lost quite a bit with their running game on offense. There's no doubt about that. So I don't know if Minnesota's going to be able to be their normal self with their running game, being able to rely on that running game. Their quarterback, again, is a little inexperienced and maybe a little bit of a game manager. He's not going to kill you when he pulls the ball down and runs it. I don't doubt that he can become an even better quarterback than what he is now. But I'm not a huge fan of his yet. I'd much rather play with a more veteran quarterback that is less likely to get you beat. And I say that. He did a pretty good job protecting the ball. They only turned it over once.
Yep.
I can't remember what their turnover was now. Might have been an interception. I can't recall.
Well, Donnie, great stuff.
Minnesota's turnover.
Great stuff as usual, Don. And hopefully next week we're back here on Monday talking about a victory over Iowa State. I think we will be, but what does that mean? I mean, I'm wrong a lot, but hopefully we'll be back talking about a win. How confident are you?
Well, I'm not supremely confident. I'll tell you that.
Well, I'm not either.
Actually, I want to brag on one other player that did play a little bit. He kind of caught my eye. Number 4, Intringer.
Yeah, Cohen Intringer. He had 4 solo tackles.
The backup to Xavier.
Yeah.
He looked pretty solid in relief. He made a couple of really nice tackles. He looked like he was not in over his head at all.
Kirk has brought him up.
I don't even know much about the guy, but I'm sorry?
Kirk has brought him up and said that he's been I don't want to say a pleasant surprise. He was not a major recruit out of Michigan. He was another one of those kind. He did have an offer from Michigan, but he didn't have a ton of other offers. But Kirk has made a point of saying that he is really progressing. No, I think they like him. I think they feel really good about their safeties right now.
Let me make one quick comment before we go about the game next week. I think one of the big keys to the game for us, we need to start fast. And I say start fast. I'm just saying we need to have a lead in the first half, preferably in the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
What we don't need to try to do is play from behind for 2 reasons. One, we got a hostile crowd, and you know how the fans are, just like they are over here. If Iowa State's playing here, if they smell blood, then those fans are going to get even more involved.
Yeah, good point.
And we don't want to encourage the fans. I think the forecast is better than last week, I believe. I don't
think it's going to be quite as hot, is it?
Still pretty warm.
I know it's supposed to be only 83 on Thursday.
It's this weekend. Sunny, low to mid 80s.
Oh, see, that'll be so much better.
Okay, more back to normal. That's good. So we need to start fast. We need to establish a lead, discourage the crowd. We need to put that quarterback under a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, Rocco Beck.
He didn't have to play from behind against Northern Iowa.
No.
It was easy to take snaps when you're up by 23, you're up by 30, or even up by 7 in the early stages of the game. There's a little cushion there. They were pretty conservative with what they asked him to do.
He only threw 13 passes. He was 10 of 13 for like 100.
Freshman. A high percentage of those passes, it seems to me, appeared to go to tight ends. I know the tight ends were very involved.
They were.
He did throw a couple of touchdowns to tight ends, and no interceptions. They ran the ball with modest success, I would say. The bottom line, they took good advantage of field position. Every time they traded punts, they did pick up more than 10 yards. I think it was 9.6, just comparing punting averages. But what gets lost in the shuffle, who's hidden yards again, they had 2 punt returns that were worth a total of 60 yards. One was 31, one was 29. And that punt returner is a dangerous receiver, a productive receiver named Jalen
Noel. Yeah, he's a veteran. Yep.
So it's going to be a challenge to win the battle of field position. It's going to be a challenge to get off to a good start. That defense, I don't know how many veterans they have coming back, but they did a good job of containing UNI, that's for sure.
They did.
I thought UNI would be present a bigger challenge to them than what actually happened. UNI got a lot. They actually outgained them a little bit like Utah State outgained us. But again, a lot of those yards came when the game was already settled.
Yep.
And in that regard, it's going to be a challenge to win in Ames. Our players will know that. They'll be ready to bring their A game, I'm sure, and it may take their A game to be able to beat Iowa State.
And enjoy these games while they last, because I think in a couple of years the Iowa State series is going to be by the way of the dinosaurs, because I just don't think there's going to be enough opportunities for them to keep playing and for both teams to assure 7 home games. I just don't think it's going to happen much longer. So enjoy this while you can. Donnie, great stuff. Like I said, hopefully we're back a week from now talking about a big win over the Cyclones.
Yeah, it should be an exciting game. I expect it to be a full 60-minute game. And that's what we need right now before Big Ten plays.
Yeah.
We need to be tested. We weren't tested severely last weekend. I don't think Western Michigan is going to be much of a test.
Nor do I.
But I do think the bigger test is going to be in Ames.
Okay.
We got to be ready for that.
All right, Don. Well, stay cool. Have a good week, and look forward to talking to you on Monday.
You guys do the same. Take care.
All right.
You broke it down.
Brilliance as always.
You and Hunter were incredible.
What do you?
What the hell?
I'm kidding. Now I'm just going to sit here and let you and Hunter carry this thing to a higher level. Stories, tell long stories. I don't care if they're repeated stories. Bring it. Just start bringing it. I'm exhausted after Don and I broke it down. It's Labor Day, and here I am just working my ass off.
Labor. Well, it's Labor Day.
Where's everyone else?
Huh?
It's a holiday.
Yeah.
It's not for me.
Yeah.
Not for us.
Well, they can't call on businesses because they're closed.
That's good. Well, they could call them. They could still bug them.
That'd go over real well.
That's conducive to sales.
So let's take a break, and then we'll come back, and God knows what to expect after this.
It's 13 after 10.
1-800-800-ROSE.
1-800-800-ROSE. Your FTD florist is the only number you need to know to send flowers anywhere in the country or Canada from anywhere in the country.
1-800-800-ROSE.
It's so easy. Just remember one number. 1-800-800-ROSE. Your FTD florist.
1-800-800-ROSE.
Remember.
For a gift that your loved one will treasure for a lifetime, find it at our family-owned jewelry store in Iowa City, 13 and Stocker Jewelers.
We can show you diamond engagement rings, colored stones, fashion jewelry, and watches.
Our jewelers are on site, so we can design jewelry for that special person in your life.
We are Harty and Stocker, serving Iowa City and the surrounding area for 3 generations.
Harty and Stocker Jewelers, downtown Iowa City, and HartyandStockerJewelers.com. Ask for Willa, Terry, Tim, or Kate. One of us is always there.
Over the years, car keys have gotten extremely complex. Mike's Lock and E-Keys for Cars can generate the most technically advanced automotive keys on the market today. Mike's Lock and E-Keys for Cars can produce most conventional transponder, sidewinder, and remote-headed keys. If you've lost the keys to your car or simply need a duplicate, call 330-9185. Mike's Lock and E-Keys for Cars has the technology to keep you on the road. Call 330-9185 and schedule an appointment today.
If you're looking for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, you should know Deary Ford is here for you. To give you the best selection and pricing on new Fords, Deary Ford is here for you. To work with long-term experienced sales and service reps, Deary Ford is here for you. To give you the highest trade values, Deary Ford is here for you. To provide pickup and delivery and mobile service for our customers, Deary Ford is here for you. Hurry in or shop online at DearyFord.com.
GT Carr, owner of Supple's Building and Remodeling, has been offering unmatched service and quality for over 25 years. The trained professionals at Supple's Building and Remodeling will install and guarantee the products used in any job, no matter how big or small. They also stand behind their work and offer no-nonsense, exceptional customer service from design to completion and beyond. Whether it's a simple window replacement or a major house addition, you'll have the confidence that Supple's Building and Remodeling is committed to quality. Visit supples.net or call them today at 319-337-2246. When you go to a family restaurant, you want three things. One, a wide selection of breakfast, lunch, and dinner items. Two, you want those selections to be affordable and delicious. And three, you want to be treated like family. You get all three at the Midtown Family Restaurant. Breakfast items available anytime the doors are open. Legendary tenderloins, onion rings, and hot roast beef sandwiches. And special ribeye and shrimp nights. Daily specials at each location. And no matter if you're coming in solo or with a group of 20, you get the same special family treatment. The Midtown Family Restaurants at Court and Scott Streets and at the Walmart Plaza on Highway 1 West. Follow them on Facebook or at MidtownFamily.com. The family's waiting for you. Car won't go into gear? Call Premier. Premier Automotive in North Liberty offers full-service mechanical auto repair, in addition to being Eastern Iowa's most trusted name in auto body repair. Use Premier for all your auto repair needs: brakes, oil changes, air conditioning, diagnostics, transmissions, or preventative maintenance. Whether you hit a deer or your car won't go into gear, see Premier Automotive in North Liberty.
Don't let just anyone take care of your smile. At Diamond Dental, you can expect compassion, expertise, and a personalized care plan to protect your teeth for life. With more than 30 years of combined experience, Dr. Forbes and his staff are prepared to tackle even your toughest dental problems, leaving your smile healthy and sparkling. Diamond Dental offers a full range of general and cosmetic dentistry, as well as dental treatment options for snoring and sleep apnea. It's never too early to start thinking about what's best for your smile. Schedule an appointment today by calling 319-390-3703 or visiting the office at 5815 Consul Street Northeast, Suite D1 in Cedar Rapids. You can also visit DiamondDentalPC.com for more information. Dr. Forbes is a proud sponsor of the Hawkeye Wrestling Club and the Inner Circle. Let the Diamond Dental team provide superior care for your entire family.
The Sanctuary Pub in downtown Iowa City has been a fixture since 1972 and still features a classic menu, such as the classic shepherd's pie, handcrafted pizzas, and craft beers and cocktails. The Sanctuary Pub is known for its warm and cozy atmosphere. That's the perfect place to spend time with family and friends while enjoying live music. Support great local food with socially distanced dine-in, carry-out, and delivery through Chomp Delivery. The Sanctuary Pub is located at 405 South Gilbert Street. Full menu options are online at sanctuarypub.com. Come experience the Sanctuary Pub. You won't ever want to leave.
There's a problem here in eastern Iowa. There's not enough Hawkeye fans. I mean, really, shouldn't everybody be a Hawkeye fan? Well, maybe not, but you should be a fan of my team at Hawkeye Title and Settlement. Hi, I'm Steve Anderson, and my team of experts at Hawkeye Title and Settlement know what they're doing. Call us at 351-8600. Hawkeye Title and Settlement, the team you love, the people you trust.
Are you tired of living in a home that doesn't quite meet your needs? Then it's time to call the experts at Streets Maintenance. Their team of skilled professionals specializes in renovations and remodeling, transforming your home into the space you've always dreamed of. From kitchen and bath remodels to complete home renovations, no job is too big or too small. Streets Maintenance will work with you every step of the way to ensure your vision becomes a reality. So don't wait any longer. Call Streets Maintenance to schedule your consultation at 400-4483. Let's start building your dream home today.
Football fans, this is Bill Leixenring of the Oxyoke Inn. We are on your way to or from the game. We're ready to serve you with the same quality food and customer service you've come to trust for over 80 years. The Oxyoke Inn is serving our famous Sunday brunch buffet with lunch, dinner, banquets, and carry-out daily. From our Oxyoke family to yours, we can't wait to see you again soon in the heart of Amana.
The Oxyoke Inn.
KCJJ Weather, brought to you by Plum Supply.
Plum Supply kitchens and baths. Your home never looks so beautiful.
It is going to be another hot one today. Mostly sunny. We'll get to 96 for a high this afternoon. The wind will be out of the south at around 5 to 15, and it will be muggy, too. So the heat index up to 100 or better today. Tonight, 72. Tomorrow, sunny, warm, and humid, 95. Could see scattered thunderstorms tomorrow night. And then Wednesday, sunny, cooler. Our high Wednesday, 85, 83 by Thursday. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable on the mighty 1630 KCJJ. Outside now, it's 82.
Hawk Fanatic is back. It's back, Pat. It's all back. It's coming back. Here it is.
We're back.
What's that?
We're here.
All right, fire away, you and Hunter.
Yeah.
So, Steve, Steve, what did you think of the game? Were you happy with the outcome?
Not really.
They didn't play. I don't think they won as decisively as a lot of fans were hoping for. And I do think a lot of fans were alarmed when they saw that McNamara's still not healthy. He's still not 100%.
No.
All these people ripping people for saying he was questionable. Well, there's a reason he was questionable. He's not 100%.
Hello.
Hello. This was the first football game that I've ever left before the game was over with.
Too hot for you?
I absolutely could not stand the heat, and I thank the Iowa City Police because they drove me all the way over to where my sister parked her car.
Oh, that was nice of them.
Yeah.
And they made me go in and sit down for 5 minutes in the air-conditioned room before I left.
Good for them.
But I saw one lady go out. She splatted right on the ramp, just went down hard.
Wow.
And then people came down, and some people stepped on her because they didn't see her there.
That was like a dead show. Only that would have been drug related.
But the police were going up and down that concourse, handing out water, making sure everybody that was down there sitting was okay, and it was a good game in the fact that nobody stood; they just sat down. But it was so hot. The older I get, the more I can't stand heat.
I can relate to that. And when I looked out at the stadium, there was a ton of empty seats because even like the north end zone, it was empty because most of the people were shielding themselves from the sun in those club seats. So yeah, no, it was luckily it's not going to be that way this weekend in Ames, and I'm guessing by week 3, Western Michigan.
Well, then by the next time, I hope not. Because my sister said, if it's hot, I'm not coming down, and we're not going.
Hopefully a little later in September, the weather won't be quite as bad. The season openers can be brutal, though, and it was brutal. Now, I will say, going to the stadium at 9 o'clock, it was pleasant. It was really not bad. It did.
When we sat and ate at that breakfast, it was nice there. We were under a shade, and there was a breeze, and it was very comfortable. But we couldn't find an ADA vehicle anywhere. When we called them, they said, we only go to where there's blue flags. Well, I didn't see one blue flag anywhere.
Yeah, the people I talked to said it really didn't start getting miserable until about midway through the third quarter. Then they said it just got, but that was like 12:30, 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
And it was the peak of the day.
Well, and like I told my sister, I said, either I'm going to throw up or I'm going to pass out. Or we're going to get out of here. So we're getting out of here. So
God, it was like a dead show.
This one guy looked at me and says, I better help you. And he took me and helped me run up the stairs.
Well, that's nice that people were there to help you.
That is really good.
All right.
So anyway, well, you guys have a good day
right,
and
Carl.
Don't get overheated.
You too.
You too. You too.
I remember I was at a dead show one time, and this guy just right neck just hurled everywhere. And then once he gathered himself again, and then he was back to just like it was nothing. Hurl right there at his feet. And then what did I do? I obsessed on his hurl for the rest. Because they were assigned seats, I couldn't move. It was one of those shows where you had to sign.
Yeah.
And the hurl just stayed there, and it just was like it was nothing.
Ugh.
Our sister station, our jam-packed show on Sunday afternoon, he played a set from the Grateful Dead from October of, I think, 1972. They were doing a benefit in Oregon for a family that owned a creamery out there, and the family was Ken Kesey.
Sure, the acid test guy,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
So they were doing a benefit for him. It was so hot, they said they only did three sets. Only three sets. But it was fun to listen to that.
Hello.
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 Hey, Harty, you'll have it made Saturday. Ames has air conditioning in their press box now.
They do?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I heard it from Chris. I heard it from Chris Williams on his.
Well, it's about time and good for them. Unfortunately, I won't be there. Dallas is going. We only got one pass this year because there was a breakdown in communication, and instead of fighting it, I'm just like, Dallas really wanted to go, and I'll just do my work from home. We'll have three people from Hawk Fanatic over there. I just won't be one of them.
Okay.
Thanks for that heads up, though. I'll let
30 years late for it, but just thought I'd let you know.
Okay, well, then my prediction that it was going to be 105 heat index in the press box is obviously wrong because I had not been told that they had new air until now. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'll let Dallas and Rob
Williams
know.
said it on his podcast this morning.
Okay, yeah, it's long overdue, but hey, better late than never.
Yep. All right. Bye.
Yep. Because, the 2 years ago over there, it was unbearable. I mean, you were just a sweaty, sticky mess, and the computers weren't working very well. Computers don't work very well in 90-degree weather.
So it's closed up like the University of Iowa press box?
Yeah.
And just no air.
And fans just pushing. Oh, it was.
Good God.
Now, granted, Iowa just didn't have air until 2006, I believe. And it's only usually the first one or two games, and after that, everything's fine. But for that day, it's miserable.
There was a major breakdown as far as ticketing at ISU.
Yeah, apparently there was some
what do you
issue
mean?
with
The machinery wasn't working. They couldn't. People were waiting outside. They were getting pissed off.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah.
Better them than Hawkeye fans, all right?
Yeah.
But no, I'm not as confident about this game as I was before. I still think Iowa's got enough to win, of course, but Iowa State showed me something. This gambling thing may rally this team. And you've seen it before where teams rally around controversy and end up maybe being better than you thought. And so it'll be interesting to see. But like Don said, their quarterback was not tested at all, Rocco Beck. And he's going to be tested on Saturday. He's going to have to make some throws and win some plays, whereas he just kind of rode along with the flow in this first game. So that'll be interesting to see if Iowa can get some pressure on him and what have you. So, but yeah, enjoy these games while they last because they're not going to be around much longer. Because Iowa's never going to give up their 7 home games, and the only way I see with these teams keep expanding these leagues is the only way Iowa could keep playing Iowa State every year is if they sacrifice a 7th home game some years, and I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they really can for a lot of reasons. And the city financially doesn't want to give up a home game. That'd be a significant. So yeah, unfortunately, I do think the Iowa State series is going to come to an end because of conference expansion. So it is what it is. So
well, that's going to come to an end, and there's going to be games all over the stream
on the Peacock. I said P.
Yes.
We're not supposed to call it the cock, right?
No.
Although I heard Suter saying it over and over one day.
Well, maybe he should.
And he was saying it to get under your skin.
Yeah. Yes.
He kept saying, so we're not supposed to say the cock? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
that's
and then
right.
you guys went on and on, back and forth for like 10 minutes, and I counted. He said it like 11 times. So he was really beating you at your own game. And now he's in where is Zurich?
Zurich.
God, he's like James Bond.
I know.
He really is like James Bond.
Let's see.
Well, he's a cross between James Bond and David Niven.
Now he's in Berlin. He just got into Berlin.
Well, good for him.
God, he's like a time traveler.
Yeah.
How do you know that? What, did he text you?
Yeah, he just texted me. He's in Berlin.
So he gets into the Berlin, the first thing he does is text you?
Well, he's probably listening.
No, let's hope not. He's not listening. I mean, if he's listening, come on, Tom, go enjoy yourself.
Harty says, enjoy yourself.
Look for Hitler.
Don't look for him.
Didn't Hitler kill himself? Go find the tomb where Hitler killed himself. Yeah. They can go and take some photos from there. Wouldn't you like to see a picture of Tom and Ann drinking from Hitler's tomb? Couldn't you see that? They got a big pint of beer, and Tom's got his Hawkeye hat on, and behind him you got Hitler's ashes. The bunker or wherever Hitler killed himself. Although some say he was still alive.
Yeah, well.
Are you texting him back?
Yeah, I'm saying Harty says,
go to
enjoy
hell.
Yourself. No, I'm not saying don't listen.
Harty wants you to enjoy yourself and not, forget about work. I don't think Suter has trouble forgetting about work when he's gone.
No, he's good at shutting it off.
I think he's better than you than at shutting it off.
Yeah, I'm upset.
Yeah, but you also take days off and you're on your couch. He's in freaking Berlin. I would like to. That sounds like this is a fun trip. I mean, if you got an extra $25,000 laying around, man, it would be a fun trip to do.
To go to Germany is really nice.
That's interesting that he's there now, and so's my neighbor. My neighbor's in Normandy right now. They weren't going to do the Berlin part of the trip, as I was saying, so I'm sure they're both having fun. That is one thing I would love to do, the Normandy Beach. I've never done that. That is one bucket list thing for me, more so than like going to Australia or even Hawaii. I mean, Hawaii, sure, I would like to do sometime, but Normandy would be way up on my list of places I'd like to go and check it out.
That would be cool.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because also you could do a lot of other things over there, but just to be over there and just to kind of think about what those young men most of those guys were probably between, 18 and 25 storming that beach?
Oh, yeah.
And half of them knew they were going to die.
No,
half of them, maybe even more, knew they were going to die for our country, and it's just mind-boggling. And now you look at what our country's become. Some of them are probably looking down saying, we died for this.
Well,
I say that half-jokingly.
Half-jokingly because... Yeah,
because
you don't shed your blood for.
Well, the term patriot gets used so often now. I'm so sick of people calling themselves patriots when they're.
Well, if they put a flag on their profile picture and they put an eagle on their cover picture,
and then they say they're unvaxxed, then they're patriots.
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It really is.
And then Nazis this weekend. Demonstrated out of in front of Disneyland.
Yeah, I know, and unfortunately, there's one on video saying he supports Biden, and of course, that's been the right wing has been using that. He did say, he goes, I'm a Biden, and the right wing just jumped on that. I try to ignore it all.
You have to,
otherwise
it'll drive you crazy.
The Krasatine brothers, I finally had to block them. Their stuff would not stop.
You can block?
Oh yeah, you're the only person I know whose block doesn't work. My block works. Everyone I talk to's block works.
Well, mine blocked.
I block them, and then they still show up, but it'll say you can't see it. You have to click on it to see it. You must click on them.
No,
mine don't. You're the only person I know who's blocked.
They show up on my feed too, but I just scroll past them.
People that you block?
No, the Krasatines. Most of the people I block are gone.
Yeah, mine too. But he claims his aren't. He's the only person I know who blocks. Yeah, you're the only person I know on Twitter who blocks.
Did you see it? Yeah.
You both got iPhones, though.
Did you see?
Yeah.
So that might be part of it.
Did you see Marjorie Taylor Greene blame the crap that's going on at Burning Man? It was God's way of punishing them by sending tornadoes.
Yeah,
which they didn't have.
She also did a tribute to Jimmy Buffett and spelled his name wrong. Jimmy Buffet. She's an idiot.
She really.
I'd say the same thing if she was a Democrat. She's just a moron. She's just a moron.
She's not qualified to.
They show pictures of her working out with her weights. That's all great and that's fine, but I'm just whatever. Back to the Hawks.
Back to the Hawks.
But no, the Deion Sanders thing.
That was fun to watch.
But there are a lot of people like Don though that are kind of offended at his look at me attitude. But man, in this day and age, a lot of people love that. He's going to recruit his ass off there because a lot of young, talented black men are going to want to go play for a very positive, very outspoken, very successful black man whose staff is 80% black.
Yep, and my daughter goes, works at the school, and that's all they've been talking about all year long.
He's the talk of college football. That was a great performance.
500 plus yards passing.
I would not have given them any chance of winning that game, and they won down, and it was down in Texas. It was impressive.
Yep.
Hope Deion is the next coach at Iowa when Kurt retires.
Yeah, like that one.
Yeah,
you imagine him at Iowa?
I can't imagine Iowa dealing with him.
No, they wouldn't. But he would win here.
Yeah,
he'd win here in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, but Iowa would deal with him.
Yeah, and I'm not. That's not necessarily a compliment to Iowa. I mean, are you meaning that as a compliment? Because I don't have a problem with Deion Sanders.
No.
But I think a lot of people have a problem with a loud, outspoken black man.
I would say that, and just as loud and outspoken as he is, I don't think even if he wasn't black, I don't think they'd deal with him.
No, I don't think he wouldn't. I don't think he would come here either. No. Boulder's a little different than Iowa City.
Yeah.
And they were desperate, and they offered him a lot of money. And no, I don't see. But it would be fascinating. No knock on Kirk. But I'm guessing Deion's press conferences would be a little more lively than Kirk's. But there's a place for both coaches in football. That's just it. That's the beauty of sports. Both ways can work. Kirk's ways works, and obviously Deion's ways work.
He called out a reporter during the postgame.
Called out multiple reporters.
I saw the bull crap you guys wrote about me.
Well, now, in fairness to the media, it's not the media's job to rally behind the team and become just big homers. I mean, there's enough of that already in today's modern sports journalism, but not everybody has to be just a big spill their guts homer. And so I mean, I kind of think Dion goes a little overboard, but that's just all part of his shtick.
Well, absolutely.
That's just part of his shtick, and the guy can back it up. He's arguably the greatest cornerback to ever play NFL cover cornerback. Was not a great tackler, but the guy could cover like a blanket, fast as hell, great baseball player. I mean, he's backed up everything he's ever said.
He is.
And now this thing was just an impressive performance, and Travis Hunter, like I said, the kid's incredible. I mean, he is absolutely incredible. And they showed, it was funny, there's a video, they showed these TCU fans during warm-ups, hey, Hunter, you're overrated. And he was kind of mocking him a little bit and pimping him. And then he had that huge interception at the end there, right in that same area. And then they showed those fans, and they all looked like they were going to cry. You know? I mean, that was it was great coaching and great execution. I mean, Travis Hunter, barring injury, is going to be a millionaire playing defensive back in the NFL. He's that good.
Well, so Iowa State has this ticket snafu. A fan in the chat room said they just got electronic tickets, and Jamie Pollard put out a statement blaming fans for not knowing how to use them.
That's not good PR.
No. He's a jerk.
Yeah, I mean, that's not good PR. That's not the way to do it. See, Gary Barta would never have done something. No. Beth Getz would never do something like that. I mean, I do like Iowa's way more professional. Jamie Pollard can be both. He can be professional at times, but he can also be.
He's a jerk.
He also gets caught up in that Twitter pandering, look at me type mentality, which is all over the place.
Well, Tommy was having trouble getting his parking passes downloaded, and they went out of their way to make sure he got accommodated for Saturday's game. So
yeah, Dallas does all that stuff for me. Thanks, Dallas, if you're listening. He downloads all the parking stuff, and I really appreciate that, and he will be thrilled when I tell him the press box is air conditioned. That'll make a big difference. But no, I mean, Iowa State probably would have fit me in, but they said it was very crowded. I can still write. I can watch it from home. Like I said, I'll have Rob there, photos. John Bonenkamp's going to do a notebook for me. Dallas will be there to do videos and content. We'll have 3 people there. I'll just watch from my office and really write a game column.
Great that Bonenkamp's a part of you.
Yeah, I'm glad that he's, giving him a chance to make more money. I mean, he does stuff for Hawkeye Nation. Now he's doing stuff for me. I mean, he drives up from Burlington. And I like having different voices and different people on the site writing. I mean, it's just better that way. And fortunately, right now we can afford it because none of this comes free, nor should it. And I'm looking forward to this game Saturday. And but like I said, I was surprised that Iowa State won so convincingly. I thought they were going to really have to scramble to win that game, and they made it look easy. So.
Well, I was a little disappointed, and I thought
You thought they'd win by more. I think we all did, and I thought they'd run the ball more.
Yeah.
And weren't you a little alarmed when you saw McNamara limping? He's not healthy.
No, he's got.
And all these people that were ripping the media who were saying he's questionable, you people are. I mean, so many people want to act like they know everything that's going on the inside of Hawkeye football. Kirk wasn't bull jiving. He was saying he was questionable because he's not healthy. I mean, you could tell when he scrambled that second time, he was in a lot of pain. I thought they were going to take him out, and they finally did. I think they finally waited until they thought the game was as close to being secure as they could, and they finally got him out of there. But he obviously is not 100%.
No.
And with those injuries, you worry about it getting worse after you aggravate it.
You think they left him in too long?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it would be easy to second-guess that. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how he develops this week, how he progresses, and what have you. The concern is, of course, is that this lingers all year and it affects his season like CJ's season was affected in 2016. And Drew Tate supposedly had a nagging injury that bugged him all through the 06 season. Kirk would never confirm any of that. But Tate didn't have as near as good a season in 06. Remember, he was actually benched for a while for Christensen up in Minneapolis, and then Christensen threw an interception, and they threw Tate back in there. But CJ's 2016 season was not good, and it was supposedly because he wasn't 100%. That's my big worry with Cade, is that he's never going to have a chance to be 100% because that's how sometimes these tissue injuries are.
You think the backup played pretty solidly?
Let me see. I don't think he really did enough to. Let's see what.
Well, in the short time he was.
I mean, Deacon Hill was in for. He threw 3 passes and completed 1 for 5 yards. I don't know there was enough to judge him on.
Yeah.
So I mean, we'll see. I mean, hopefully Cade can at least not regress. Hopefully he didn't regress at all and to where he is worse than he was going into the game, but I can see why he was questionable. And I don't know why so many fans got pissed off at anybody in the media who said he was questionable.
You know, they see themselves on the screen and they're experts.
Well, there were some in the media that were insisting that he was okay and that this was all. And it's so important for some in the media to be popular and right on Twitter. They just live for it. Their identity is Twitter and social media. They have to be glorified and whatever. And the people that were saying he was questionable were simply doing their job. He was questionable, and we saw why. Yeah. So it wasn't Kirk doing some cloak and dagger or whatever. These injuries are hard to judge. But like I said, with social media, so many people want to be right and popular and glorified, and it's just, it is what it is. It's the world we live in.
I'm sick of that world.
Do you like being glorified on Twitter or X? It's X.
Yeah, it's X.
But when I go www, I don't type in WWX. Yeah. I type in WWTW, then Twitter comes up.
Yeah.
But it's X. X marks the spot.
I don't try to do anything on Twitter. In fact, starting today, we're no longer posting national. Just everything on Twitter and Facebook will be local. Will be our local stories.
You're making a stand.
I am making.
You're making a stand to Elmo Mush.
He's putting pressure on the news department here. That's what he's doing.
Well, if you're, you know the networks to go to, whatever that you want to learn national stuff. People come to the station, come to the site. Well, they come to the station for both, but they come to the site for local news.
Mm-hmm.
The stories of.
Yeah, I don't think people are relying on KCJJ for national news. There's so many places to get national news now. I mean, you can go to multiple places. So, but yeah, it's always fun to get that season opener out of the way. It's unfortunate it was so hot though, but I could just tell that people. I mean, by the middle, that game was still pretty close, and by the middle of that third quarter, that stadium was starting to. A lot of people were just leaving; they couldn't take the heat. Yeah, and the game did get kind of boring for a while too.
It did. I just expected him to.
I think everyone did.
Again.
There was all this hype about McNamara, but the thing is, though, guys, this was the first time Cade McNamara was not playing with Michigan's supporting cast, and it was different. He showed his frustration a couple times. He slammed the ball down. He's got a little Drew Tate in him, and I mean that's not criticism. That could be a compliment, too. Drew Tate wasn't afraid to show his emotion. Cade's got a little bit of that in him, and if he can play as well as Drew Tate did in 2004, then they're going to have a successful season. Like I said, I just want him to get healthy. And if he still shows he's limping against Iowa State, maybe they'll not play him against Western Michigan. I'm not sure if they can afford to not play him against Iowa State if he's able to go. I'm not sure if they could get out of Ames with a backup winning that game. But if he's still limping and they think a week off, maybe he won't play against. Who knows? I mean, but to say that he wasn't questionable going into that game, it's ridiculous. Obviously, he was questionable, and you see why. I mean, because he couldn't really scramble when he had to really put pressure on that quad. You could tell it was bugging him. He was in pain.
Hello.
Okay. God, they hung up right after they dialed.
Yeah.
So, and I did hear you playing. You did a little Jimmy Buffett tribute. I was never a huge Jimmy Buffett fan. I mean, what do you do? Cheeseburgers in Paradise, Margaritaville. Didn't he do something latitude and longitude or something?
Yeah, latitude.
Changes in latitude or something.
Changes in attitude.
I remember. Those are the three songs by him I remember.
Yeah. Come Monday's a great song.
I'd have to hear it to recognize it. Those other three I knew, and I was never a big the Margaritaville song. It was okay.
Yeah, I mean I like to see him perform.
I never saw him.
I saw him on TV.
He was good friends with Ed. He was good friends with Ed Podolak.
Yeah,
Podolak and him were good friends.
Yeah, but I mean,
he was what, 75?
He was 76.
76? That's too young.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Look at.
What, did he die of cancer?
Yes.
Yes, he died of an invasive form. I think it's Merkin's of skin cancer, but it spreads throughout the body. Hello.
Maybe.
Okay.
RTD.
Yeah, your phone.
We can't hear you.
Yeah.
Well, we can hear you. We can't understand you.
Yeah. Hell, have a good day.
That sounded like R2-D2 from Star Wars.
Well, except you could understand it.
Hey, it was Suter from Zurich.
Maybe that was just slurring his words. No, they're not. They're in Berlin now. They've gone
Berlin,
from.
that's right. I'm sorry.
They're in Berlin.
It's hard to keep up with
So when do they get on the boat and start going on the river tour?
I don't know. Today, I think.
Is it today? That sounds fun. That sounds like that would be a good time.
Cruises to me don't.
I'm not a huge fan about, but I would like to be able to go on a cruise if I didn't have to sleep on it overnight. I'd like to be able to go.
Oh yeah, if you didn't have to sleep on it.
I don't want to
it's
sleep
just-
on the. I don't want to have to sleep on the boat
No.
overnight. I would not like that.
Hit an iceberg. And
Well, germs. Cruises are just germ city. Think about that. They're like traveling hotels.
Yeah.
Stain city.
Well, I don't know that stains.
Well, you don't think there's stains on a cruise?
I think they wash everything.
Yeah, but hotels supposedly do too. And
Well.
you imagine doing a black light on a cruise ship?
Oh, please.
I guarantee I'd walk on that Suitor boat with a black light and they'd all cringe. Look at that one. Look at that stain. That thing looks fresh.
Okay.
Back to the Hawks?
back to the
But no, I didn't realize Jimmy Buffett was even sick. Had he been?
Like 3 or 4 years, right?
Yeah, he had it for
okay.
4 years, but he just had to stop touring in May.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, no, it's.
I will say his music was always happy. It always seemed happy.
Yeah.
Happy music.
Yeah, he lived a good life.
Yeah, and it, like a beach bum, but the guy was a workaholic.
Oh yeah, no, I've read about him. He was
Yeah.
very talented, very smart. Did he live in Florida?
Yep, in Florida Keys.
Florida Keys. Yeah, I mean, I will say he didn't. You would like to have lived a little longer, but he did. He made the most out of his years.
Agreed.
Yeah.
He definitely made the most out of his years.
Hello.
Back to the Hawks.
Okay.
Or I should say, back to a commercial. If Saturday wasn't the death of college football as a person attending a game, I don't know what was, because that was just unreal. To sit there through all those TV timeouts.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God,
brutal.
yeah, I can only imagine.
No, it was brutal, man. Those TV timeouts are brutal. Yeah, that first quarter
Somebody
took 52 minutes.
Yeah, somebody just tweeted on the game last night from LSU, Florida State. 6:30 was the kickoff.
Mm-hmm.
From 6:30 to 6:44 was commercials.
Wow.
6:45 to 6:51 was the game. From 6:52 to 6:54 commercials. 6:55 they cut in because the game had started. To 7:03 was the game. 7:03 to 7:06 was commercials. For a total of 20 minutes of commercials and 14 minutes of gameplay.
Wow.
See, to me, that can almost
first
backfire in advertising, can it? Almost be too much.
Yeah, it's.
But what can a person do? Nobody. I mean, it's all about the money, as we all know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just to sit there. It was just brutal. I mean, that guy came out there in the red shirt every time he could. It was always a commercial,
And
it
he's
was
just
longer
doing
than
what
3
he's
minutes
told.
Sometimes.
I mean, he's just the TV. He's just the code guy.
true.
Yeah, I know people rip and hate him, but he's just doing his job. But yeah, no, it's tough. I mean, those TV timeouts are brutal.
And I'm hoping maybe this is the pinnacle. Maybe somebody can figure out, hey, there's too much. Let's back to real time.
I think
But
it's only
don't
going to
think
get
it's
worse.
happen.
I think it's only going to
Yeah,
get
you're
worse
probably
because
right.
I think these athletic administrators never imagined in their wildest dreams that there was going to be this much money to be made, and I think they're just overwhelmed by this, and they're just money's dictating everything now. I really do think that's what we have going on.
I mean, everybody talks about it when you're there, and it's just even worse when you're there.
And they could raise
I'm
the
sure it's better when
rates.
you're at home watching.
Yeah, and they're brutal on a nice day. I can only imagine what it was like Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad. So, well, I'm done griping again. So,
Well, you have the right to gripe. Appreciate you calling.
okay. All right, take care, guys.
I talked to a couple of. Thanks for the call. I talked to a couple other people who just said the TV timeouts were just overwhelming.
No, they're just.
And I mean, they're bad enough, like Jim said, when the weather's not bad. But that's the world we live in now.
Well, when you're watching the game, it's like, God, there's hardly any game.
And I don't want to get too
Raise
critical
your
on
freaking rates.
I don't want to get too critical on advertising either, because we can't live without it.
Sure.
I mean,
No.
advertising is that's. I still think there's a way to make it work with local advertising. That's what you guys are doing. That's what I'm doing.
The line's been crossed. I mean, there's a balance there, and the balance is way in favor of the advertiser now.
Hello.
Yeah, at the game, I thought it was kind of funny when the scoreboard and the clock went out. The one thing that did stay on and running was that countdown clock for the TV timeouts.
Wow.
Thing must have a backup generator that kept it going.
How long was it out?
Oh, the scoreboard
No.
was out for
15 minutes?
Yeah, roughly about 10, 15 minutes, I think. Enough for everyone to tweet about it and take photos of it, and it was all over Twitter. So it was out for a while.
Well, it took till the second touchdown for them to give us any points. It was 0-0 even after we scored.
Yeah, and you know that Iowa had people scrambling, working on that. Sometimes things just don't work.
Yes.
But, yeah, that was another thing. I forgot about that, the scoreboard going out.
Yep. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for the call. So, yeah, I envy those people that – I guess I don't envy those people that can sit through all that stuff and endure the heat. I mean, that is loyalty. I guess I respect their loyalty and their dedication to the Hawks because that couldn't have been easy, and I don't blame Karn for leaving early. I mean,
you know it's bad if she's leaving.
But hopefully by the third week it won't be as bad.
No, it'll get better, and then it'll get really cold.
But we haven't had many games with Iowa that have been just completely dominated by the weather. We really haven't lately.
Well, that game last year, they lasted till 1:30 in the morning. That was kind of dominated by weather.
Which game?
The game that lasted until 1:30 in the morning.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The football game.
What
we had because there was so many
rain delays,
thunder
delays, and lightning. Yeah,
I don't know if it went till 1:30.
It went. How long?
I was
did it
there.
go?
I don't think it went anywhere close to that, but it was a while. That was the game that had the 3 light. Was it the Iowa State game had 2 or 3 lightning breaks? I don't recall any game being up in the press box at 1:30 in the morning. I mean, I do remember a couple were delayed, but 1:30 that's I don't recall that. But maybe I'm just not remembering it. But for the most part, the weather has not been a big factor.
Oh, you're right about that.
In
I'll
most
give
of these
you that.
games, I mean, there hasn't been a lot of rain, and lightning delays are frustrating. I mean, the Iowa State game took 6 hours to play 2 years ago because there were 2 or 3 lightning delays. I mean, it just went on forever. Was that the last trip, or was that 2 trips ago?
I can't remember.
But it had at least 2 or 3 weather delays. Either the last game or the second to the last game in Ames. Remember, that was the game, I believe, that Devontae Young recovered the fumbled punt and had a big play in that game. So, but, yeah, hopefully it sounds like the weather's going to be, if it's in the low 80s for a 2:30 kickoff, that won't be bad. That'll be, and by the second half, it'll be even cooler. Because by the second half, it'll be, late afternoon, early evening. So the weather doesn't look like it's going to be a factor.
Yeah, we played Nevada.
Yeah, I remember the game. It was stopped by, what did it have, 2 or 3? It was just like the Iowa State game. It had 2 or 3 breaks, right? I just didn't realize it went till 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah, it ended at 1:39.
Yeah, I've completely spaced that off. And what time did it start?
At 6:40.
That's right. It was a night game. Okay.
Yeah.
It was a night game. Yeah, the Iowa State game. Luckily, it would have been the same thing had it been a night game. Luckily, that was in the afternoon. Yeah, completely forgot the Nevada game was a night game. So, I mean, even if it hadn't had weather delays, it was going to not get over till about 11 o'clock.
Sure.
I mean, it was going to night games now. I mean, you start your game at 7 o'clock, it's going to get over at 11 o'clock.
Yeah. Also, the lead singer for Smash Mouth, Steve Harwell, has died.
Yep.
I've never heard of Smash Mouth, or maybe I have. Are they
Walking on the Sun, All-Star?
Are they?
You're an all-star.
I'd have to hear it. Are they grunge?
No, just kind of a rock and roll band.
Yeah.
Okay. They sound like a Seattle grunge band.
Did the version "I'm a Believer" for the Shrek soundtrack.
I've never seen the show.
Did you ever watch?
I've never watched.
We
Shrek.
watched.
I'm an ogre.
I've never watched any of that.
Equalizer 3 yesterday. We went to the movies.
Oh, it's out now? I'll wait till it'll be on HBO in about a week.
Yeah.
Is it good?
Killing everybody.
Gee. Just like Equalizer 1 and 2 was not near as good as 1.
Well,
and they say this is he dealing with the mafia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, dealing with the mob in Italy and
Yeah, and this is the last one supposedly. They're promoting it as the final.
Well, he killed everybody.
The final chapter. Did you ever see 2?
Yeah, I've seen them all.
2 was a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't know. It was okay.
It's
I really liked 1.
This one is he just kills everybody.
Well, I was probably assuming that.
You ever seen Man on Fire?
Yeah,
parts of it. I never saw it from start to
movie.
finish. Yeah. But I've seen parts of it. But yeah, hopefully they won't have weather issues over there because that game over in Ames 2 years ago, that took forever.
It's supposed to be nice all over the state.
Yeah,
and highs in the low to mid 80s.
Yeah, I forgot that Nevada. I forgot Nevada was a night game. I forgot that they play. But now that it's all coming back to me, because I remember thinking, why would you make this a night game? But TV, I mean, they had a time to slot to fill, and so yeah, that's just the thing though. If you have a night game that starts at 7 o'clock, even without weather, you're not getting done till 10:30, 11 o'clock. No. So that one didn't have as long a delays as I think the Iowa State game had almost as much time with delays as it did the actual game. The Iowa State game went on forever.
Oh, yeah.
It went on forever. Had it been a night game, it would have been 2 or 3 in the morning before that game was over.
Wasn't that the one where the pep band got people were throwing stuff at him?
I get them all mixed up. I don't know if that was the same one. I mean, after a while, they all kind of blur together.
Well, that's like me and, when I promoted concerts and crap, I don't remember. Mm-hmm. I don't remember where they were.
I still don't remember being in the press box at 1:30 for the Nevada game. I mean, I've completely spaced that. I do not remember the press conference. I'm guessing Dallas usually goes down and gets all the press conference stuff. I don't remember any of it. It's been a complete blank.
I remember that great picture of that guy who was walking his dog, and they just opened all the.
Oh, I do remember that. The guy brought his dog in because at the end,
he was sitting there watching
remember security? Didn't they go home?
Yeah.
Didn't security leave?
Yeah, they left. They went home
because there was nobody left. Now it's all coming back. I'd completely spaced all that off.
I was driving home that night, and I was listening to Dolph, and he goes, "Well, it looks like we're just about a couple more minutes before the rain delay timeout ends, or the lightning delay, and it's lightning like crazy."
Yeah, I remember.
He can't see it, but it's all. I go, they're not going to get one play.
Now it's coming back to me. I do remember thinking, can we just call this? Can we just call this? Iowa's winning this game decisively. Do we have to play? But Nevada was the one I believe had the final say in that. Now it's all coming back to me. I think I just blocked that out because it was such an unpleasant memory. Getting out of 1:30. I mean, that's.
You stayed up and watched the whole thing, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Because I felt.
Well, you didn't have to be to work the next day either, since it was Sunday.
No.
So, but no, that guy. You remember that better than I did, Jim. I completely spaced that off.
Well, let's call it a day.
Yeah, it's almost 11. Thanks again, Don Patterson. Great insight.
Always.
He'll be back again on Monday. Hopefully, we'll be talking about a victory, because that'll suck if we're talking about a lost Iowa State. That will not be fun.
All right, HogFanatic.com. It is free.
Summer of the Arts brings live music to downtown Iowa City with the Friday Night Concert Series, sponsored by McGrath Toyota.